Apocalypse is in the air. There are so many different groups talking about not just fire, not just brimstone. We're talking about nukes. We're talking about red heifers. We're talking about bringing the second advent. And so everywhere you see in this world of heightened tensions, not just in the Middle East, not just in our home country, but even in places where I'm just kind of like, why does this kind of blow now? Like the workplace, or I guess the workplace always sucks. But one of them is it's this sense that everyone everywhere is so tight, so constricted, feels so banished to a certain place where they don't want to be, that it almost feels like there's this larger conversation in this moment of time in 2024 where it's like we just want the pop to happen.
So you're waiting for the end of days right now.
I'm not. I definitely do not want the end of days. I do think that there is a general desire for catharsis throughout many layers of society, uh, for the escape of this sense of constriction and tension that is brought upon a great many things.
Everything is so heightened right now, and we don't know if there will be an end in sight. We have the climate crisis, which like could end everything, and meanwhile, the people in power show no signs of doing what's best for the people, and then the rich people just keep getting richer, and then what are we left with?
Yeah, and that's why I think really apocalypse is in the air.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I'm interested in talking about Save
Save.
by Reverend Kristin Michael Hayter.
Yeah, so this is an album that I had not heard of until you introduced it to me. And the first time I heard it, I thought, what the hell is AP like what is AP giving to me? What is this music? Is this music? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the more I listened to it, I started to click into it more. You saw the Reverend last night,
Yeah.
so you have even more context about this artist. But it's really interesting because most of the songs on this album are like from over 100 years ago.
That's right.
Only four of them are actually written by Hayter.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, Saved by Reverend Kristin Michael Hayter is in the tradition of a 10th revival of Pentecostalism. And just a background on Hayter, she is this West Coast born artist who used to go by the artist name Lengua Ignota. And recently, she changed back to her birth name, Christian Hayter. Um, and she got like a online reverend like certificate. So they're technically a reverend, but like
Yeah, I think my uncle got the same certificate in case he needed to marry one of my cousins.
just like a in case of marriage, break this glass for
Exactly.
reverend certificate. Nice, nice. And I in this album covers things like anxiety, paranoia, healing. Many of the interviews that I've seen about Hater always goes back to this idea of healing, and even the description of this album is that healing isn't linear, and it also doesn't have to be pretty. And what exactly was that healing? What exactly was that feeling of brokenness within her? I don't exactly know, and I don't particularly think it's important because what we are seeing is the culmination of her experience, her talent, and her joy or fascination for this like sector of Pentecostalism, apocalyptic Pentecostalism to be specific, and we are the recipients of that real avant-garde presentation of that. And if that is enough for you to be interested in this, like go listen to this. It's about 45 minutes, 50 minutes long. It covers a couple of different hymns. It also has like original work, as Marcy said. And with that, I kind of want to talk about the album.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a jarring listen, and I think uh that's very on purpose. Like the first song when you're listening to it, like the audio kind of goes in and out. And the first time I listened to it, I thought, is there a problem with the stream? Like, is my Bluetooth speaker broken? What is going on? But like, as I kept listening, I realized no, this is all intentional. She is trying to make this very disorienting.
Yeah, that first song, it's called I'm Getting Out While I Can.
Uh huh.
This is an original piece. It's very heavily distorted. It has these tape glitches and accidents where some of the larger themes come in of anxiety, of the desire to like want more out of life, and it also includes some of the more esoteric practices of religion, specifically the speaking in tongues that comes in and out.
Yeah, at first I was like, what the hell is going on? But as I kept listening to this, the speaking in tongues kind of became my favorite part of the album. I really like the glossolalia. Um, you hear this like in multiple songs, oftentimes at the very end of a song. Like yelling and groaning and whinging, and you can tell that like whatever you're hearing, there's a lot of emotion to it. And if you read some of the interviews, this is kind of like represents the healing that you talked about earlier, like really expunging a lot of the demons that she was facing.
Yeah, and even in the song, the lyrics themselves, it kind of shows this desire for the esoteric part of Christianity to be brought in. And one of the lines in the refrain of the first song is, "On Judgment Day, do you know where you'll stand? I'm gonna sing with the celestial band." In other words, like the singer, either Hater or the personification that is being that is singing, is like, I'm good. Yeah, it blows. I'm a little fucked up, and I'm a little dealing with some anxieties, and I'm singing some real weird shit. But I know I am good.
Yeah, like it's a theme in multiple of the songs on this album where she's saved. Like she's found God, so she's good now. She's gonna go to heaven. So what else do you need?
And I think really that sense of both the healing in I'm gonna put square quotes on that, comes uh, in its double meaning with the song "All My Friends Are Going to Hell."
Yeah, this is definitely a highlight of the album. Now I have to ask here, AP. You yourself are a sinner, so
Currently.
why I part of me wonders why this album speaks to you so much when you yourself are going to go to hell according to the logic of this song. I think when you listen to this, you must feel like, well, I'm damned. I mean, it's not like you're going to suddenly start not saying sinning at all and following that. So
Yeah, if I would say this, if any Christian is like, "Hey, you're a sinner," as a way of like putting it down, which is what the song is about, I think they're being a real piece of shit, because they
uh-huh.
should be the first one to say I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
And when it comes to me, like, I'm not really gonna change, because I don't need to change, because hell isn't real. And I personally see the spirituality side of this, but also I think more prominently, there's the sense of like bigotry, of control, that is found in some Christian practices. Like this song, reading it as literary, like you have to ask yourself who is singing. The song starts with this comment of like about mothers sucking their teeth and until you bend to their will, and then the singer goes on to say like brothers who know what goes on in the night, and then they go on to say like sisters that speak at both sides of their mouth. Like there's all these different like uh, denominators of a family structure, and the one thing that is missing is in a heteronormative sense. The thing that is missing is what?
The thing that is missing is Jesus Christ.
It's the father.
Yeah. I mean, so the song, like, in the lyrics of the song, it's like, my friends are going to hell and they don't know it and they don't care about it. So, when I first heard those lyrics, I was like, damn. So you're good, but everyone else is going to hell. But I guess it's like, if your friends don't care about it, then they're good. They don't need you. So
Yeah, it's not a square I can circle. And it's also one that I think hits upon with this missing figure of the father, because I think that is who is singing. That is the voice, the perspective of the person singing this song. And in other words, the patriarchal maximus of this structure, talking about everyone else but themselves. Everyone else is gonna go to hell but me. And everyone else sucks because like I was a sinner. I fell, but I got up and I said, "Yo, Jesus, what's good?" And Jesus said, "You, buddy." But I think it's kind of a funny song.
Oh, I absolutely think it's a funny song, and I really think that someone should like use it in either a TV show or a movie. Or actually, no, I think someone should use this song in a musical because I think it would be great to you basically have like the main female character. She's treated like shit by the men, and then like the women are all gossiping about her, and then she just starts singing this soliloquy about how everyone else is going to hell. That'd be really cathartic to like watch in the audience, I think.
Mm-hmm. It really is a sense of like it's like if healing is a big topic in this, sometimes you have to be like, I'm gonna be okay with by myself.
Uh huh. Yeah, there are parallels between this album and some of Jeff Rosenstock's work, who we talked about in the previous episode. Both write about anxiety, both talk about like the potential end of the world. And yeah, Jeff Rosenstock has some lyrics in his latest album, Hell Mode, about how sometimes if there are people who uh, like are just like getting you further into the dirt, that sometimes you just have to let them go. So
And I think that's kind of like general advice these days.
uh-huh.
Like I'm fairly certain I've mentioned this before, that one of the biggest piece of advice that can be found in like TikTok or social media is just like, just let them go, just cut them off, go no contact. And sometimes you do have to do that, absolutely. And I think the expression here is that they're going so far as to say that I'm never going to see them for eternity.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of funny. And I think it's funny too, of the final part of the song where it's like, where the singer is also like, oh, and Jesus Christ is on my side too, because he says, yeah, they're going to hell. You should probably get some new friends.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting tension in this album because Hayter feels like she has been healed, and religion is like one of the main things like in our culture that a lot of people connect with healing. But then there's a lot in this album that kind of casts doubt on the healing that religion provides. So you know that she like encourages healing, but the type of healing that is talked about in the lyrics, you know, a little bit questionable.
It's definitely not pretty.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it is, as you said, challenging because it's supposed to be challenging. I mean, the first song is a challenge. Just get the fuck out of here.
Uh-huh.
You might not be ready for this, and like a lot of people might not be ready for it. When I was in the concert, I would talk to people, and like in a very conversational way, not in a Q&A type format. But like 3 out of the 6 people I talked to, we eventually got to the point where personal religion came up, and all 3 of them were like, I'm not a believer. I grew up in 2 people told me that they grew up in a religious tradition. One of them was from Houston, who was actually part of like choir and part of like the gospel team. Another one that was just kind of like, I just went to like church with my family, and another one that was just like, yeah, not really something I care about.
Yeah. It's interesting because you can imagine a version of this album that like really connects with people and it becomes like their entire new religion, and that like when you go to Talia Hall, that it'll be filled to the brim with people who are going to be hanging on every word that comes out of Hayter's mouth because this is their religion. But it sounds like that's not quite what you experienced. And Hayter, she has like about 17.5K monthly listeners on Spotify, which isn't like a huge amount. If we want to compare, Jeff Rosenstock has about 300K.
Yeah, and Olivia Rodrigo has like 17 million.
Yeah. Um. So it's like we do witness a lot of, like, for instance, like online standum where it's like people are so going to the bat for Taylor Swift that they're going to start harassing anyone who says anything bad about her album. So much so that like Paste magazine is like, we're not even going to post a byline for our band of her review.
Yeah, we're like, it's the 1920s. The KKK is out. We gotta be anonymous here.
um, but yeah, like it's interesting because I know that Hader herself, she said that she was an atheist, so it's not like she's coming into this and being like, um, well, I have a long history of being a Christian, and I'm putting that into this music, and I'm hoping to indoctrinate everyone. No, it sounds more like people can come from multiple different religions and uh, find something uh, in this music that speaks to them, but doesn't necessarily like take over their entire life.
Yeah, because I think if you're witnessing this as kind of like a religious um, piece of work first, I think that's engaging with it in its most on its face point of view. Like this isn't a religious work. This is an avant-garde piece of art. And that's how I learned about it, and that's why I wanted to connect with it and really like engage with it, because I'm a big fan of Americana, and there is no separating the United States from the religious concepts that are around, especially not in the last 150 years. And that's what this is about. When I was at Talia Hall, as I walked in, and they were playing these older music from the 30s and 40s and 50s that I kind of knew because I'm a fan of Fallout, that has music from that era, and I learned a lot of different music from them. And one of them is The Great Atomic Power by the Lovin' Brothers. And it's this song about religious fervor that's like, you should repent and give yourself to God because we're all about to die in a fiery hell, and you want to make sure that you're good. And as I was there, And as I was like seeing this as an art performance first, I saw this huge decoration happening of these white sheets being draped all over everything from the stage, the ceiling, and the mezzanine. And it took me a moment from hearing these older songs and me sitting there when I it connected with me. It's about tent revivalism, like Reverend Hayter is hitting this at so many different angles because she is a fan, or at least has a huge interest in the this aspect of Americana, and I just started laughing the moment I realized that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you had that moment of clarity. And yeah, it's interesting you bring up Fallout because I watched like the first 3 episodes of the Amazon Prime TV show, and I definitely was thinking like this is the type of music that a character on Fallout would just like stumble upon like an old record and like play it, and then they would be like, "Whoa, what the hell is this? Is this like some like is this the ravings of like some woman who was like really religious?" When it's like, as you said, that's just the surface of it. There's a lot more going on. And yeah, tell me more about this tent revival and how it spoke to you.
Yeah, I only know some of it, but there's two revivalist like movements in America. The first one was before the Civil War, and the second one was in the 1900s. It's this idea that Christians were gonna mount this campaign of conversion to try to get as many people into Christ as they can, like if it was a phone booth, trying to break a record. Uh, and the tent revivalism is from the idea that, yeah, these roaming preachers would go around and actually put up a tent to give these very fire and brimstone um, uh, sermons, just trying to shake the audience into giving themselves to Christ. And they would do all kinds of different things. And one of the big ones is called snake handling,
Yeah.
and that is where the Pentecostalism comes in, because that's a huge thing that used to be part of that. I don't think there's any churches that do that anymore. And I have some stuff to say about what's happened in that. Uh, I will say, though, that because of that big, like, fascination with Americana and in this section of Americana, that's why there's so many hymns from about 130, 150 years ago, uh, because those songs are still being played today. Like some of them, one of them that I want to talk about is "I Know His Blood Can Make Me Whole." Have you ever heard of that one?
I don't think so. I don't know if I've ever heard of any of these, but like some of them are the type of thing where I'm like, I heard these, but like the first time I listened to this album, I couldn't tell which songs were new and which ones were old. Which I thought it was interesting when I finally looked up, like, oh, this has been here since forever. So I think this one was new for me.
And I think that really shows the level of like interest and like consideration Hater has for this type of music. Whether or not like she agrees with it thematically, well, I should say like the pathos of it. It really is about uh, the theme of it, of what it's supposed to represent, and how she does it. That song is by Blind Willie Johnson, who is this blues singer from about 100 years ago. He was also like an evangelist from Texas, and I only knew a little bit about Blind Willie Johnson because I knew about this song called "Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground." That's the song that I knew from him, and it's this blues song. Sometimes with lyrics, sometimes just with humming, with like a real throat sound, chest sound. And when you hear it, it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's haunting and it's relatable. And it's just this guy and a guitar just going at it. And it hits so hard on the human existence that it was placed as one of only a couple of songs added on the Voyager uh, spacecraft that was launched out of the solar system. So that's how I knew about it. But I love the use of all of these different aspects of in the uses of hymns for that continuation of Americana about healing and about like the oddities of this country we live in.
Yeah, see, that makes me wish that there was a U.S. Spacecraft that only had Reverend Christian Hayter's music on it. Like, can you imagine that? And like, then they were stuck just listening to like her distorted voice and like speaking in tongues, and they would all probably lose their minds.
Yeah, yeah, it would. But also, I think if they would send out a new one, I think like they gotta put up Lady Gaga, right? Like, like, or like Chappell Roan.
Yeah.
Like we gotta put some queer representation on one of these disc we would
Yeah,
send
I
out.
can imagine, they're doing the HOTTOGO dance with their arms while they're going up in space.
Look, if aliens come into Earth doing that dance, we know they're good.
Yeah.
We know they're chill.
Yeah, I want to go back to uh, the thing you're talking about with the snakes. Because, like, um, we have a Walton Goggins connection here. Previously, we brought in Fallout, which, of course, Walton Goggins stars in as the ghoul. And then on Justified, there is a scene where there's like a new guy in town and he's like setting up a tent and he's got some snakes and he's like he's like dancing around, but of course this is Justified, so you got Boyd Crowder there too. So I think that like Justify was also interested in some of these aspects of how religion um try to kind of bring people into cults. Like even Boyd Crowder, like he was a preacher for a bit in that show, and of course, like he's someone who he has a Nazi tattoo, um, and yeah, he's able to like win people over, um, despite that. So we definitely have echoes of this like throughout our culture.
And it's this sense of Christian nationalism is on the rise again. Like it's not something I really prep to talk about, but like it's fucked and definitely look into it. If you've never heard those two words together, and if you consider yourself someone interested in collaboration and community building, maybe you should know what Christian nationalism is and how to negotiate how they are building power.
Yeah, and I think that that's like one of the kind of the contradictions in this album, where when I think of like Christian music and how like evangelical Christians like permeate the culture, I think of for instance abortion rights and how we had the March for Life in Chicago, which we did successfully organize them to do in Springfield last year. Good job for us. But it's because of like the evangelical Christians that we've lost abortion rights, and that there's uh, that they're trying to take away trans rights, and then at the same time, it ties into the genocide in Palestine, where a lot of the Zionists are Christians, and
Most of
yeah.
them.
So when I started listening to this album, I'm like, damn, like, uh, like, is this like going to be some reactionary thing? And then it's like, no, not really. It's like it's more about her personal journey, and also, there's multiple lyrics on this album where she's like connecting to her fans, and like she's like offering a way for them to be saved as well.
Yeah, saved, I think, not in the way that evangelist would describe. Um, and actually, I think one of the songs that really exemplifies this is I Will Always Be With You. And this is one of the longer songs. It's another hymn. And in it, it, it's one of the ways that the other side of religion can be brought in, the idea of comfort, the idea of relaxation. It starts with the singer talking about how they are beset by demons in the night. And she, even though that she knows their name, which is how you have quote unquote control over a demon, uh, she yells, "Release me, release me!" And but she can't. She isn't. And to me, when I hear that, like I could see the like spiritual belief in that, or what I can do is see that it's anxiety. It's this sense of like I am stuck with my own actual difficulties, mental, emotional, financial, whatever it is. But like in the quiet of night, I'm just stuck with it.
That's one of my favorite parts of the album. She keeps singing "Release Me" repeatedly, and the way that she holds on to that second E sound. Um, one thing I know that you've said off mic is that when you saw the concert, it was basically the best vocal performance that you've ever seen, and I can believe that. Despite all the distortion, and all the things on this album uh, that kind of take attention away from her vocal performance, when you really just hear her voice, it just feels very powerful.
Yeah, and it is like live the moment she started to get into it. She started the concert with the four original tracks. And immediately I realized why I'm here and why my perception of like I wanted to see an avant-garde performance was wrong. The attraction, the reason why you should go see Reverend Hayter uh, is not because it's this exploration of the oddities of America. You should see it because it's raw talent. Her vocal range is incredible. I think she's a little bit of a tenor to like mezzo soprano. She can go from having this loud, warm, deep sound to this angelic, even some might even say exasperated and paranoid wailing. And she can do it in 10 seconds. She can do it in 5 seconds. And throughout the whole performance, she goes from one side to the other wherever it makes the emotional aspect of the lyric or the song hit so much harder. You should go see her for that alone, for this absolutely warm and beautiful and haunting voice she has.
Yeah, that sounds really amazing. Part of me wishes that I could have been there, but I'm also really glad that we have the experience of someone who has experienced her life and someone who hasn't, because then I get to experience all of your emotions about the concert through you. And I think that the album is a very singular piece of work, but I'm really glad to hear that it translates into a live environment where you're mostly just focusing on her vocals, her piano playing, and just everything that she's bringing to the stage.
And the piano playing is great too. When you hear it in the album, you kind of I thought it was a detuned piano. I thought it was just kind of like a little bit of a busted piano, but it's not. It's she does it live. She adds a chain to the strings of the piano, that give it a more muffled sound, but she also adds a multiple bells throughout it to give it this larger acoustic feel, and it was incredible. And it really like hits on exactly what you're hearing in the album, and I was surprised. I did not realize it was gonna be that, but I'm also not like a musician. I don't know any of that. I don't really want to talk too much more about the concert, but I think the last thing I want to say about the concert proper is there's a couple of different hymns that she covers that are not in the album, and one of them is one that I've never heard called "Running for My Life," and it was incredible. It was the best song she performed.
Wow. Yeah, being able to hear a song for the first time and that surpassing the songs that you're actually a fan of, like, when you go to a concert and you have that experience, that's something special.
hmm And going back to "I Will Always Be with You," the second part of that comes in where God, like I guess the biblical God, like starts uh, giving this release, this relief and comfort to the singer. Where there's a couple of lines in it that I really like, and one of them is, "I cannot release you because you are already free," and I think that really shows the other side of why you would want religion in your life, or a sense of spirituality, for the comfort, for the realization that you are healed, you are more than what you are, and even whether or not it is by divine prowess that gives you that freedom, like in this song, like the singer ends feeling happy, feeling relief, and feeling seen and cared for, as I'll just say she is sitting at the table in a dress made of celestial fabric with lilacs in her hair. In other words, like it's gone. That anxiety's gone, and that's why I think the negotiation of Pentecostalism and this high religious fervor can absolutely be used for this more secular approach to say, hey, maybe I'll be okay.
Yeah, it reminds me like when I get a tarot reading and then someone's like, every day you should look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're an angel and you'll feel better about yourself after you do that every day for the rest of your life. It's like you don't need to be saved. You are saved already.
And sometimes that's just kind of a sweet thing to hear,
Truly, yeah.
even if it's like this paranoid way. But with that, I want to listen to a song
Yeah,
together.
sounds like fun.
So what did we just listen to?
We listened to a song by the Reverend Kristin Michael Hayter, but not an original song. No, no, no. This is a song that we've had for generations, and it is called Idumea.
Yeah, I think it's pronounced that way, or Indumia. I looked it up. It's a Greek word.
Uh huh.
I have no clue how to pronounce a Greek word. So, but this is my favorite song of the album.
Really? Uh, I don't like it as much as you do, but one thing I find funny about it is that if you go on YouTube and you search this, the first thing that comes up is a song from the 2003 movie Cold Mountain, starring Jude Law, Nicole Kidman, and Renee Z. And it's about a Confederate dissenter of the Civil War going back to find his love. Um, which friend of the show Michelle gave 2 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. So it just shows that like this song has had many different lives.
Yeah, yeah. It's because it's a reference to the kingdom of Edom, which is a kingdom south of the Dead Sea in occupied Palestine and Jordan.
Okay.
And so like and it also represents this sense of like conflict, like constant conflict. But it's my favorite song because it's just there's something so raw about it. I think it connects with so much of what I'm seeing in the album. Like it has these layered vocals with a continuous straitjacket cadence. Like it's a song filled with anxiety, of being forced to live in a world unbuilt for you. And when you hear it, or at least when I hear it, it hits something in me. Like it connects the themes of religion and healing. And I think of it like it's a type of religious fervor that's being presented here in those layered vocals. The calls for like lithium those doses, usually preceded by like scribbling of hard graphite onto harder wood, but neither as hard as the internal struggle within the mind that the singer is feeling. and and I fucking love it.
Yeah, this song has AP writing poetry. I love it. I do like the layered vocals a lot, and I think it's an example of how I think this album is best experienced when you're just letting it wash over you and not even thinking too much about like where does a song start and where does a song begin, and you're just treating it as this experience where because we're getting these layered vocals, like you're not just hearing one voice. It's almost like being in the tent with everyone else, and something is happening to you. You don't quite understand what it is. But yeah, I'm glad that you brought in some of that historical context because I didn't know that.
Yeah, it starts off so strong, and it definitely does feel like you are kind of within a group that is singing this sincerely. And I do like it. I also kind of I like the lyricism of it too. In it there is this sense of dreary dead regions that have been unpierced by human thought. And I see that. I see that now in 2024. Because although this might be like a straight jacket ass song, like in 2024, is there anything that provides sanity?
Nomi provides sanity for me. Having a cat and just having her be licking herself sitting on one of my chairs while we record a podcast, that's providing sanity.
Yeah, know me, yeah. I guess pets and like friendship and sometimes liquor and dance does that for me too. Yeah, yeah. Uh, but I connecting it to what I am seeing in 2024. There are absolutely these dreaded, dreary areas where people just forego humanity, or they're thinking of humanity. Like I think about like Canada. I think about how so much of the wilderness there is being ripped apart for the sake of the resources endemic to that land. Everything from timber to tar sands to natural gas, all of these different things that are leading directly to a worsening environmental catastrophe there.
Yeah, there's examples all over of greed and capitalism just making our planet worse. And I mean, you can like bring Chicago into it with when they try to like build you know General Iron general iron, like a huge shredder, and try to, like ruin communities in the Southwest because they care more about money than actual people.
Exactly. And I think that's why I kind of thought about Canada immediately when I was reading this, because last year we had this huge plume of smoke come in and envelop this city hundreds of miles away. And like, for example, as you say, like with these companies, I think another dreary region unpierced by human thought is a boardroom full of executives, the C-suite people that are just interested in making more money.
Yeah, the, the it's not just the billionaires who are doing it, who are doing this to us. It's the people at the top of all these companies who uh, only care about making their pockets fuller. So yeah,
And like thinking of that, like the fact that there is this actual understandable reason in in a huge barrier, sociological, mental, politically motivated barrier that is stopping the idea of making a better situation of this. It's maddening. And I do think about it like I can see myself having this exact same kind of like this back and forth, this rocking of like of singing to try to comfort myself, to feel like there is something to be done. That's not exactly what I do. It usually involves dancing. But like I get it.
yeah. Like we talk a lot about how in Dove Weather we're pro letting the freak out, and I think part of that is because that the world around us, it makes us feel like we're losing our minds, but in reality, like we're the sane ones. Like we're the ones who can see what's happening, and we're gaslit by the government and people in power to think that like, oh, like the way that we're responding is like not correct. Like, oh, don't protest that way. Oh, like if you do this, we're gonna put you in jail. But like in reality, we're just trying to fight for what we deserve, and then uh, so absolutely, like there's no sane way to react to everything that's happening around us.
And that's what I mean. And like 2024, is there really a way to like engage with all of this material disaster in a sane way? No, there isn't. I and I think that is why this song really hit me. It hit me so hard that I was listening to it as I was reading about the King of Aviram and seeing the lyrics, rereading them, that I started crying just because I couldn't take it anymore. This sense of collective singing, this desire to say, am I born to die? Am I really just brought to this place, broken and shattered, just to suffer?
Yeah, I'm glad that the music was able to bring you to that emotional point, and I think it just really goes to show, uh, like when you start listening to the album, you're like, oh, it's just trying to be weird. It's just religious, etc. And then it's like, damn, 40 minutes later, you're looking for those tissues, and you're like, this hit me way harder than I thought.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think I understand really that this is about healing in a way, and to choose a path that might not be chosen by many, um, and one that I definitely wasn't expecting to connect with at an emotional level. I I didn't cry for too long because I'm still a big macho man. But it hit me, and so when like Reverend Hayter says this is about healing, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
in a world where insanity is the norm, sometimes saying, I from the grave shall rise to meet the judge with glory crowned, that sometimes saying something that poetic, that heightened, feels like the only way to really negotiate the insanity of this modern era.
Yeah. Speaking of negotiating insanity, let's talk about your outfit. You know, it seems like there's some symbols on your outfit. Did you plan this along with this podcast episode, or did you just end up wearing this today?
Yeah, this is. Tell me what you see.
Ooh, wow. It's the song that we're talking about. Reverend Kristin Michael Hayter is on the name is on the back and then the name of the song, IDUMEA. Yeah, wow. I'm glad I called this out.
Yeah, and I bought this last night. I was not thinking of buying any sort of merch, but when I saw that it was literally about my favorite song, I was like, yes, I
Uh-huh.
need to. And the symbols that you're seeing, they're a symbol of an alpha and omega,
Uh-huh.
and they have like a crucifix, a cruciform on top of them with a drop of liquid, probably blood,
Uh-huh.
in between them. And Christian Hater has this tattooed on her arms, actually, on her hands, like the back setup.
Okay. Yeah. When you were like Alpha and Omega, I'm like, okay, is this a sorority I can join?
Yeah. Well, I would rather you talk about a sorority to join versus the. You know what? I'm not gonna talk about that. But there's like a furry connection. Well, like an erotica connection to Alpha and Omega. But that's besides the point. That's it. We're talking about a different type of weird right now. But yeah, I really do like this song. And I do like this sense of using the weird, the odd, the fucked to kind of understand that your emotions are okay. And I especially like this in this album in total because I think this is a real hit to the flattening of emotion and experience that is required in a neoliberal world for mass consumption. And actually, we will be listening to another song.
Ooh, can't wait.
Okay, so the other song is "Worship You" by Vampire Weekend.
Oh, wow. Plot twist. Vampire Weekend, Worship You. I was not expecting to discuss this in today's podcast.
Yeah, well, as I was reading this and as I was thinking about how the use of these odd imagery in visuals, in literary topics, in Saved, I thought about how there is a lot of songs that deal with this kind of sense of anxiety and with their religious figure and the healing of that. And I thought about "Worship You" by Vampire Weekend.
Yeah, which is a song off of their album Modern Vampires at the City, which is a very critically acclaimed album. So we just watched the lyric video of this. First of all, that guy can sing really fast. Like, we do tongue twisters before the show. I don't think I could sing as fast as he just sang there. But yeah, he's singing about like we worshipped you, foreign lands, distant lands, lead us through to the end, So yeah, you can definitely feel the religious imagery. You know, if we think about what America does in foreign lands and leading to the end, doesn't sound very good to me.
Yeah, when I read the lyrics, I think it's being written in the perspective of the Jews being exiled in Babylon.
Uh-huh.
I do believe, going off of some class I took in college, um, usually the idea of being in a foreign land, when it comes to that, with that tradition, it's about being in Babylon, and now it can be as seen as being anywhere else, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not part of that tradition, and I'm not gonna act as if I know too much of it. But I can see this anxiety there. It starts with uh, only in the way you want it, only in the day you want it, only with the understanding that it will be every day. And it's this idea of feeling this like I'm being kind of like suffocated by the demands of being of not just of not a spiritual life per se, but just existence. And I think this is where we see that idea of anxiety there. Wait, sorry, let me restart. I wrote a bunch of it, but it so this song really starts with that anxiety, that sense of anxiety. It says, only in the way you want it, only in the day you want it, only with the understanding that every single day you want it. Like that is anxiety. That is a sense of being crushed with expectation.
Yeah, so I'm glad you really brought this song into the conversation. Uh, but I'm curious, like how you think it connects with some of like the religious themes that we've been talking about.
So, uh, let let me mention one of the things here is that the person singing, either actually Ezra Cohen singing or the character singing, is calling upon a God to be like, literally the lyric is calling on a change, we want it. And like he goes on to say that, like, calling for a mystery to always be explained. And they do it in repetition, saying like calling on the same always, like why this pain, why this suffering, why. And uh like there is this feeling that there's a separation, this suffering, and they want it explained. And more than that, they want it gone. And more than that, they want to be connected to God. And so when I read it, as someone who did take a couple of classes on like the old Hebrew Bible, like I see it there. And once again, with no real connection to the religious tradition of this, I I see it. I see this like connections. But what more than that, the reason why I bring this up is because this song is kind of, it is not a challenge. Like it is not written at the same heightened religious fervor that saved this. At a distance, you can hear this song and think it's a kind of a love song.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, even me myself, I've listened to this album multiple times, and it's very easy for me to listen to it and not really think too much about the lyrics. I was listening to all of Vampire Weekend's discography recently since the new album came out, and I noticed that like, oh, there's a song that where like Jerusalem's in the title. I should probably look more into that to see like what the political implications are. But it's very easy to just like let that thought go through your brain and then just move on with your day. I think there's like value to both of these like types of music, where with Hater you're almost like demanded to sit with it and like think about what it means. But while Vampire Weekend, a lot of us just love to dance to very easygoing music.
But I think that is the neoliberalism of it all.
Yeah.
Like this song has about 21 million plays on Spotify. And there's no real sense of like the oddities of like a spiritual life.
Uh-huh.
And because it's made for mass consumption. Like that is not a statement on the quality or the validity of it. I am telling you that it is easy to consume, and it's supposed to be easy to consume. This is this is like I think the third album in their discography, and they need to sell a certain amount to make a certain amount of money. So then, like the label is happy, and so they can like live their life. And I don't know the politics of Vampire Weekend. I know that they were like connected with Bernie, but like ultimately that doesn't matter because the actual uh, music denotes this sense of it's built for high consumption. I mean, this was in FIFA, bro. Like,
Yeah, we did see when we like searched the song on YouTube, like one of the first things that popped up was FIFA.
but I know it from my own history playing FIFA. I know I heard it, and like FIFA's the biggest mass consumption driver in this world. I mean, well, not maybe not the biggest, but like that's their whole thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna start the campaign right now. Get Reverend Christian Michael Hayter into the next FIFA game.
And like I want to give you another couple of examples of this, um, of this use of like of religious visuals in some popular songs. "Believer" by Imagine Dragons. Like, have you ever heard that song?
You know, the thing about Imagine Dragons is that like I've definitely heard a bunch of their songs, but besides Radioactive, which was used in the CW show The 100, they all blend together to me.
That's right, because that song is written to sell Hondas. Like
Uh-huh.
it's not written to have you thinking or sad or engaging with the realities, the difficulties of life and mental health. No, it's just kind of like it's in the background of Target, and I'm figuring out whether or not I want to buy this mayonnaise.
Uh-huh.
It's got 2 billion plays on Spotify.
Don't buy the mayonnaise, AP.
Never do. Another one is God's Plan by Drake. Have you ever heard that one?
Yes, and I'm glad that we get some Marcy hating on Drake because I have never been a fan of Drake. I feel like Drake has lost some of his luster in the recent years, but I've always been a hater of his. I got dunked on in the 2013 era for not liking him, and now it can be like, you know what? He's always sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I have a contentious relationship with Canadians, so, which I will not get into right now. Uh, but God's Plan, I like the song. Like, I do. I've heard it. I remember when it came out. I also have been in the club when the song comes on, and it's fun to listen to. It's a song, actually, I think, really only built for the club.
Yeah, well, I'm going to throw an Uno reverse on you and throw a song that you may not expecting. How do you feel about Jesus Walks by Kanye?
I look like it's all part of the same thing. Like Kanye West is trying to make money. And Jesus Walks, which I couldn't tell you a single line from right now. Like I can tell you, no matter what, there is an internal debate either with themselves or with the label or with the team around them where it's like, is it radio friendly? Is it playable? Will it drive sales?
And I think that's one of the interesting parts of that song is that I think he even talks about in the song, like, they're not going to play this on the radio, but then they do play it on the radio. So there you go.
It's not even a catch-22. It is on purpose.
Uh,
Because even saying like the kind of self-victimization of like they won't play this, like it's not. Of course they're gonna play it. You're like the biggest artist in the. You're one of the biggest artists in the goddamn world. God's Plan has 2 billion plays on Spotify.
yeah, and Drake is like the most streamed artist ever. So, this guy's putting out so much music, he doesn't even care whether it's good. I mean, Uh, not to anger the Swift fans, but yeah, he was putting out like a million songs just to get the streaming numbers before Taylor Swift did. So yeah,
And let me give you maybe a more controversial one, maybe one that you might not want to hear. Lady Gaga.
I'm actually not that big of a Lady Gaga fan, so I'm safe here.
Okay, no alla points from Marcy to Gaga. Okay,
Yeah, you know, I mean, she has like bops, but like she's never had an album that like has become a Marcy favorite for me.
sure, I get that. Look, I like Lady Gaga. I like her music. She has a song called Million Reasons, where in it, like, there is actual religious tradition imagery in it. She says that she bows down to pray. She also says that, like, because she's like looking for like God's guidance in, the tumultuous part of life. She also says things like, Lord, show me the way. Like, that is straight um, Christian like wording. And like, from what I understand, Lady Gaga is like a Catholic. I think that's why she's like good friends with Scorsese. and and like, whatever, I'm not here to like decide what someone should feel about somebody else's religion. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me, because ultimately this song, Millions Reasons by Lady Gaga, is just a love song.
Yeah, so basically, when you boil down all these songs, at least according to AP, they're just there to sell stuff. They're just there to tell the same old narrative. I hope there is someone who's listening to this and just getting, they're steaming. They're like, you're wrong. These songs are actually engaging with religion in a very meaningful way. And to them, I say, I hope you pray on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, once again, it's not about like the validity of the music. Like, I don't care about that. I mean, and this song has 800 million plays on Spotify. Like, it's not a question of the quality. It's a question of how neoliberalism needs you to flatten out everything to make it easier to consume, to package, and sell. And that is one of the reasons why I like Saved. It, I wish well on every artist. I wish well on every person to have enough to eat and enough time to relax and real diligent and meaningful work. But the actual mechanism that exists now for someone to have that requires a flattening of culture and self-expression that is easy to sell. That is why I don't know if any of these artists would or wouldn't, but I know that they ain't gonna be singing about how there is power in the blood.
Which I love that tune was used for one of the most popular Union songs. And when you listen to the song, you're like, yeah, this makes sense because they're literally like talking about like blood of the workers.
The actual blood that was spilled for people to have things like The Weekend.
Uh huh. Yeah. Um, I am going to push back a little bit because I do think that although I did grow to like this album, I don't know if it's an album I'm going to be reaching to very often. So I may have to become a little bit of a hater, if I will, and say that I think that just looking at the number of streams that these artists are getting doesn't necessarily uh, denote whether they're engaging with these ideas because I'm getting the sense that because Hater has made this album somewhat hard to listen to, that kind of puts a limit on how many people are going to listen to. While Lady Gaga, she's definitely making something that you can listen to in Target, you can listen to while you're doing your laundry. But at the same time, I do think it's possible for an artist to have lyrics that go deeper that sure not maybe not everyone is going to engage with them, but that doesn't mean that like they can't engage with some deeper topics.
Sister, that is my thesis. You
Uh
just
huh.
said my thesis at me.
Oh well, I love that.
And I'm okay with that.
Uh huh.
I'm not interested in saying there is one way of doing it and there's one way of challenging cultural or and artistic norms. What I am saying is that if you want to be a 2 billion streamed artist, you kind of have to make sure that it's kind of toothless and sexless music.
See, okay, we're gonna get into it now. So Chappell Roan, I don't think I should double check, but I don't think she's like at that level yet. But that's some pretty damn sexy music, and it's getting a lot of sexy streams right now.
But it is not a 2 billion.
All right, let's see, because I think that she's like ascendant right now. She's not like at Lady Gaga numbers, obviously, but um, I I would struggle to find. Oh, look at that. 10.6 million monthly listeners for Chappell Roan, and that's sexy music.
Yeah, once again, it's not a question of the validity or the quality of
Backtracking,
music.
backtracking. No, this
And
is what
10
we've been
million?
looking for.
10 million
Yeah.
is still half of Worship You.
Okay, we're changing the goalposts now. But okay, I'm enjoying this fun banter between AP and I. But I think fundamentally, we do agree on the crux that Hater's music, like, is bringing something new to the table here. She doesn't feel like she has to uh like cater to the car companies and sell a bunch of advertisements to get her music out there. She's definitely going straight from her soul. Like she's speaking even if she hasn't been Christian all of her life, like she is taking her experiences and putting them into the music in an extremely raw fashion that really comes through. So I'm a fan of that.
And that's good. I think that's kind of the takeaway that Saved is supposed to deliver. I um I just want to end things here with two things. One of them is the necessity for neoliberalism to flatten everything and make it easier to sell. Like and therefore expression is reduced. Um I hate that. I hate that. And I see that in a great many things in our modern life where yeah, there are people that say like they want the apocalypse or World War III or once again this huge catharsis that I think comes from this one aspect of it comes from this flattening of things, of the inability to have the larger conversation, the more painful, more politically and socially maligned conversation. And it really reminded me of how now we are in a time where this desire to like break the barriers that are set up in a neoliberal world uh, to 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 increase the arena in which we can communicate and think. And it reminded me of this like quote that was like I think attributed to like Slavoj Žižek and one of his partners, Frederick Jameson. And it's like, it is easier to imagine the end of the world than to imagine the end of capitalism. And that is what I'm seeing. That even in this album, it is easier to imagine rapture.
Yeah. I think definitely we're at this point where it's very easy to fall into despair, to take that black pill. But one thing I do like about Dove Weather is that, we do try to point towards the hope where, um, even when we're able to identify all of these terrible things around us, all these, as you say, this issue of like neoliberalism flattening everything. There's still reasons to hope, and I think that Hayter herself offers some of that hope. She was able to get out of a very terrible situation, and she was able to heal, and um, she has like a better life now, and she's able to create art that feels uh, very true to herself and her journey, while also not not making her relive her traumas that she did when she performed previously. So even though it can feel like the apocalypse is the only way out of here, and Jeff Rosenstock talks about this, where it's like the future is dumb. I don't want to be right about how the world is going, but at the same time, you got to keep that hope, and that's part of why we're here at Dove Weather, um, to hold hands and face the apocalypse and come out swinging. Because yeah, we're not gonna let this win over us. We're gonna get through it.
Yeah, we're gonna get through it. Healing is possible. And my last thing here is saying that healing from the top to the bottom level of everything, of every part of life, of yourself, society, the world, it is strange. And you must feel free to be expressive about it, to be hurt, and to swing at the collective nightmare we all live under. And I think the person listening, has the strength to do it. And I just want to say thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you a lot. We hope that you didn't speak in tongues too much while listening to us speak about Saved. And yeah, you can check us out on Instagram at Doveweather. And please tell your friends about our podcast and rate it 5 stars on whatever platform you use. And remember, Doveweather is not a
And
cult.
it will never be. I hope you liked the new intro music and the interstitial music that is produced by yours truly, AP. And please continue to listen. There's more to come. Um, and keep on keep on dreaming.
See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.